Hello everybody! So today I wanted to do the I never tag, which is an old tag that I don't know when it was started, but someone that I recently subscribed to just did a video on it and I really liked the questions. So I just have them pulled up here and I'm just gonna dive straight into it. Straight into it. The first question reads, I never read that. Name a book you've never read that everyone else has. The first thing that comes to my mind is the Harry Potter series, which I know so many people would be like, so many people are like, I can't believe you never read that. But I think it's because that genre, like fantasy, magic, has never been big for me. There are a lot of different suggestions that I have, and it's actually recently because I subscribe to booktubers who read a lot of that genre and they're very passionate and excited about what they're talking about, and it makes me interested in it. So I do have a list of recommendations of that kind of genre written down, which I am excited to read. I do want to expand the genres that I read, especially for this year. So, but yeah, that entire series, Harry Potter, I've never read it, which is pretty crazy. And I am such an avid believer that books are 1000% better than movies, and I'm sure they are. It's just I can never get into it, but I do love the Harry Potter movies. I think they're really entertaining. So yeah. Second question, I never read anything so awesome. Name your favorite book. Oh my gosh. Okay, favorite book off the bat, it's called Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. It is a modern retelling of the story of Hosea in the Bible. Everyone should read it. I think I've read it in my life probably about like 17 times, and that's not an exaggeration. I think I've recommended it to almost every single person that I know. It's actually the book that inspired me to go into helping people in human trafficking. So basically, just to give you a brief overview, it's about a girl who from a young age, she's brought up, her mom is a prostitute. Growing up in these horrible circumstances, and eventually she gets trafficked into this madam's house, or in this pimp's house first of all, and then basically as she grows up, she escapes, or she runs away, and then she ends up becoming a prostitute actually herself in a different brothel. It's a really beautiful story. It seriously makes me cry every time. And what's funny is that in my last video, I mentioned that it's really hard to make me cry through books, but I have another video from 2017 that I still have on this channel because I was just like, I just want to keep it on here, and it's a completely random video. It was like a February favorites review, and it included 2 books, and in that same video, I said the same exact thing. I was like, it's really hard to make me cry through a book, and I literally said the same exact thing talking about a different book. So I was just watching it and I was like, okay, clearly I do cry through books, and I say that because I cry every single time I read this book. So yeah, it's a great story though. So Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. Number 3, I never thought I would get through it. Name a book that you didn't like but power through it anyways. Oof. Honestly, I think I'm pretty good with, even if I don't like it, I power through it. I'm kind of the same with movies. Even if it's bad, if I'm already like halfway into a movie, I'm gonna finish it, only because it'll like bother me. So I don't have a specific book that comes to my mind where it's given me such a like a traumatic memory, but I mean, most recently I could say, which I talked about in my last video, like Nicholas Sparks' 2x2. I gave it a 1 star and I said that I was really disappointed, and I think it was around 500 pages and I just finished it anyways, even though I knew exactly what was gonna happen. So that's probably the most recent one. Number 4, I will never finish that. Name a book or a series that you don't plan on finishing. That I don't plan on finishing. In terms of series, that's kind of hard. Oh, okay, so I started, what's that called? Not Game of Thrones, Glass of Thrones? Oh, that series. The one that I am like 3/4 done reading is called The Assassin's Blade, and I know that it's an entire series. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it. It is based on like this girl who basically is trained to become an assassin, and it's very out of my genre range, but I did enjoy reading it. We'll see if I finish a series. Like, I actually did enjoy reading that book, so we'll see. But that's a series that's like kind of up in the air, where I don't know if I'm gonna invest all my time into reading that. And that's the Assassin's Blade series. Oh, who's it by? I don't remember the author, to be honest. Next question is, I will never regret reading that. Name a book you read solely on a recommendation that you ended up really liking. This is also hard because I'm usually the one giving out book recommendations. Okay, this wasn't a recommendation, but I do love going to the thrift store and picking up random books. One of the ones that was so random that I've never heard of, that I didn't realize that it was even a bestseller, is called the Guernsey Literary Potato Peel Pie Society. And I have to do a full review on this book, but it's probably one of my top 10 books ever. I loved it so much. I know that a movie came out on Netflix recently, I think last year, and I still haven't watched it. It's also one of those things where half of me is so, I want to see it, but then half of me is scared because I love the book so much, so I'm afraid they're gonna ruin it. But regardless, it's one of the ones that was so completely random. I've never heard anyone talking about it. I've never even heard of the book. Just picked it up at the thrift store and then ended up reading it, and I freaking loved it. Number 7, I never wanted to admit it. Name a book that you were embarrassed to say you were or were embarrassed to carry around with you. Oh, I just jogged a high school memory. At the time, it wasn't embarrassing, but I think the Twilight series, I don't think I've read that book since high school. And it was really big back then. I think now I really don't care. I read what I enjoy reading, but I think in high school, there was definitely that sense of people are gonna judge me based on this book. So I'm pretty sure a lot of the books that I read in high school I probably was embarrassed to carry around, especially because I was that girl who would always have a book and be reading. I remember when the Hunger Games series came out, I would bring it to my weight training class for gym, and we would have to be doing the weights, and I would be reading it with one hand and just lying down on the bench press and pretending to do something, but I would actually be reading. And I think I finished the Hunger Games series in like 2 days, just bringing it to gym class. The next one is, I never read anything so heartwarming. Name a book or a series that really touched your heart. Oh gosh. Okay, every single Mitch Albom book. All the Khaled Hosseini books, which there's only 3, but the 2 of them that I have read. Redeeming Love. There's a book called The Color of Water, which is a true story based on a adopted child being raised. So it's a Black adopted child, and it's his recount of growing up in an adopted white family. And that's a great story. There's another one called The Same Kind of Different as Me, which is also one of my favorite books. That's also a true story of a homeless man and his relationship with a high-end a super rich art, I believe he was not an art broker. I don't even think that's a job. I don't know what it's called. A gallery person, with husband and wife, super well off, doing well for themselves, and then a homeless man, and their lives intertwining in their relationship. So the first one is called The Color of Water. Same Kind of Different as Me. Jeanette Walls, her books are great. One is called The Glass Castle, also a true story. I love the nonfiction ones where they're writing about their own lives. She has a crazy story of her family basically growing up, of her father is this kind of big dream catcher, always moving around. Her family is always moving around. They're doing crazy things. She never has a stable life, but she tells her story of how, not how she survived that, but just of her childhood and how crazy it was, and the stories that she has with her siblings. And I think that one was super heartwarming too, because it reminded me a lot of my own family. I have a huge family, and just, it was a very like parallel thing. So I really love that book too. I actually have her second book. Well, it's not a sequel, but it's another book that she wrote. It's called The Silver Star. It's on my TBR list too, and it's one of those ones that I bought so long ago, but I haven't finished it yet, so it's on my to be finished list. So that one was a long answer, but it's a lot of books that are heartwarming. The next question, I never laughed so hard. Name a book that made you laugh out loud. Honestly, Sophie Kinsella's the last book that I read, which again, I can't wait to talk about. It's called I've Got Your Number. That book is so funny, guys. I literally laughed out loud, and I would be cackling by myself on my bed just reading it. So Sophie Kinsella books really make me laugh, which I did mention in my last video. Number 10, which is the last question. I never could have made it through childhood without it. Name a favorite childhood book or book series. Aw, that's a sweet question. I would say The Boxcar Children probably made me fall in love. One of the first things that made me fall in love with reading and stories. So The Boxcar Children. What else? I love the Anne of Green Gables series, which a lot of people make fun of me for, but I loved it, especially when they talked about like food and how they would make like butter and biscuits and tea, and how they had to like milk the goats to make cheese. Like, I don't know, I love it when books talk about food and describe how they make it. Yeah. And then childhood series. Oh, I loved all of the Series of Unfortunate Events. I had that entire collection, which is really sad because we had the entire series. I believe it's about 13 books, and we had to leave it when we moved. So now randomly I saw the only ones that I have now are ones that I randomly have picked up along the way at thrift stores. But I only have like 2 of them now, so I'd love to get the entire collection back one day because it's really dark, but it does remind me of my childhood a lot. Judy Blume. This is like throwing it back to elementary school days. I probably have read every single Judy Blume book out there. Wait, Judy Blume? No, not Judy Blume. Junie B. Jones. Oh my gosh, who remembers Junie B. Jones? Another one. Who remembers Amelia Bedelia? That was a great series too. She was the girl who could never do anything right, and she would always get in trouble, but then they still loved her. Like, that's my recount of it. The girl who could never do anything right, but she would somehow make it through. Anyways, yeah, so right now, just currently reading, I am about halfway through The Alchemist, which I really am enjoying. I'm finally reading that book. I'm also about a quarter through Surprise Me by Sophie Kinsella, and I'm about 3/4 through The Way I Used to Be. So yes, I am juggling 3 books right now, but they're each so different, so it's like really good. Sophie Kinsella I pull out when I want something more lighthearted and more of a story. The Alchemist is when I'm more in a reflective mood. I actually keep that book in my car. That's like the book that I pull out when, I don't know, I need a break somewhere or I'm waiting for something randomly. And then The Way I Used to Be, I read about like 100 pages last night. It's really good too. I'm probably gonna finish it tonight. And yeah, and I also recently finished, it's not on like any actual reading list, it's called The Lucky Suit, and it was only about a 2-hour read. It was super entertaining though. Basically a really lighthearted romantic story about a guy and a girl getting set up through her grandmother, and they get set up because the guy meets her grandmother at a car auction, and this grandmother is always scheming, but she's really hip and she really loves her granddaughter a lot. I definitely enjoyed it more because I was listening to it, so I've just been really lucky. This is my second listen through Audible. Sorry, I'm like talking weirdly. I'm really trying to not say like a lot because I noticed that in my videos I'm saying like in every other sentence, so I'm just being more intentional with my words, and it's a learning process, so please bear with me for my like awkwardness. Oh, and I want to stop saying too. This is the growing process. Thank you for understanding. I really enjoy listening through Audible, and I've been lucky because through Audible you get 1 main book and then you get 2 Amazon originals. So The Lucky Suit was one of the Amazon originals that I chose. The 2 books that I chose, which is this one, and then the last one that I finished was Where the Crawdads Sing, which was my main book for the month. They were so entertaining to listen to. I feel like some of the books can be kind of a drag, I imagine, if it's being listened to there are some books where you want to physically read it, but these ones were just so entertaining. It really feels like it's a storytelling type of thing. So I think that's why I enjoyed it more. So it was only like a 2-hour listen. That was really good. I just finished that one too. And yeah, so that's really it right now. I can't believe there's only one more week left of February. That's so crazy to me. And I am excited for the month of March. I'm going to try to slow down on the buying books, but there's just so much that is coming out, and I really want to get The Last Romantics. That's the Barnes & Noble book club book of the month for March. I might get that, but I do have an entire pile that I still have to get through, so I feel like I shouldn't buy, but who knows. If you guys have any other like historical fiction or fiction books to recommend, please let me know, because I'd love to hear some recommendations and what everyone else is reading. But yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!